Hi and welcome. My name's Julie and thank you for joining me in this introductory video where I'd like to talk to you about the Dharma, the teachings of Lord Buddha. For many of you who are familiar with the Dharma, you'll know that some of the terminology can be very difficult for Westerners to grasp. And so what I decided was that I would take some of the teachings from the Dharma and actually translate them into a language that Westerners can understand. And this way, it feels more comfortable. As a Buddhist practitioner, I know how important it is to be able to feel what it is we're practicing. And if we can't feel it, then it just seems pointless in some way. So in this session, I'd just like to look at talking about how we can develop the heart and how we can start to live our lives as more compassionate, balanced human beings. So what way is best to develop the heart? Well, first we need to start with the mind, because if we don't have a clean mind, if our mind is unbalanced or tainted, then it's very, very difficult to live with a good compassionate heart, especially in Western society where many of us are governed by chaotic lifestyles and jobs and schedules, and of course some of us are like ticking time bombs. We're consumed by anger and anxiety, and so what we really need to do is find some kind of balance in our lives. So when we talk about balancing the mind, the best way to do this is through meditation. Now at this point, many of you will be gasping in horror. You'll be saying, oh my God, my schedule, how am I going to fit this in? Well, in actual fact, you don't need to panic because you can actually meditate in a very short time. Meditation is effective if it's practiced regularly and focused in a quiet environment so that you can find the best results. And if you continue practicing over a period of time, it will change your life and the way that you perceive the world around you. And this has to have a knock-on effect on mental, physical and spiritual well-being. So in just 10 minutes, you can take some time out and just sit quietly and focus. If you can't take 10 minutes or if you're still feeling panicky, then maybe it's time to think about changing your lifestyle. 10 minutes is a very short time. So how do we start developing a good heart? Well, when we've actually got to grips with trying to change the way we think, then we can start looking at how we act. And we have to start looking inwardly. We have to start looking at ourselves and taking responsibility for who we are. Now, I'll set you a little exercise just for an example. Someone asks you if you'll go outside and reach into a hole because they've dropped something. When you go outside, you reach into the hole and you just can't reach. You can see it, but you can't reach it. What do you say? What are the first words that come into your mind? And be really honest with your answer. For me, my initial thinking would have been like many others. I can't get it, the hole's too deep. Does this sound like you? Be honest. Well, what did the hole do? The hole did nothing wrong. The hole's just a hole. It's been there for years, perhaps. Why do we always look outside of ourselves? Why do we never say, I'm sorry, but my arm's too short? You see, my point is that it's always someone else's fault, always someone else's responsibility, or the fault of something or someone outside of us. And so we have to start looking at who we are. So many times in our lives we sit back and let others pave the way for our future. We just trust that they'll get it right. Our future, our life, it's all we have until we pass, and yet we don't take any consideration or responsibility for it. And this is why, to develop a good heart, we need to first start with looking at who we are inside of ourselves. Now, according to Buddhism, if you believe in Buddhist philosophy, you'll understand that the concept of I, me, who I am, doesn't actually exist. It's the ego, it's a concept. When we look at ourselves as people, we're actually made up of muscles, cells, bones, skeleton, little organs, blood vessels, veins. We're a mass of all these different things, different parts, that when put together make up what we perceive as us, me. We look at the hand and we say, this is my hand. In actual fact, this is a hand that's attached to an arm, that's attached to an upper arm and a shoulder, and so on and so on. And all of these things, when put together, they make a body that we call I, me. But in actual fact, that when we start looking deeper into this, we start to see that these things break down. And it's just like everything in life. For example, the laptop that I'm speaking to you on now is brand spanking new. But in 18 months or so, the battery will start going. Things will start going wrong. And this is inevitable. It's inevitable. It's part of life. So, how many of you have had veneers on your teeth? Or you've had plastic surgery done on tummy tucks? It's no problem in Western culture. It's who we are. It's how we survive. But think about this. From the minute we're born, we're preparing for death. We get older, we age, and things change in our body. Things are changing within our bodies from seconds to second. Things change in life from second to second, and millisecond to millisecond. Think of the person as an analogy, as a block of ice. Okay? We come from water just like ice. We come from the sperm, which is fluid. And then, as humans, we manifest into something solid, into a child, a baby. We grow into an adult, and we grow into this thing that we perceive as a human being, as a person. Just like ice solidifies into a block, so we can see something tangible. And then at the end of our life, when we're ready to pass, our body goes back to fluid, the decomposition period, just as the ice melts back into water. Now you might think what this has to do with the Dharma, but when you think about things in this way, what we start to realise, no matter what our concept of the world is, whether we are Buddhist or not, or whether we believe in an afterlife or not, what we actually see is that things aren't permanent. And so we grasp at these things as if they're going to last forever. So back to the veneers and the tummy tucks. It doesn't matter how white our teeth look now. In 20, 30 or 40 years, our gums will start to recede and the teeth will fall out. It's inevitable. It is. As we get older, the skin will sag and the tummy tuck will no longer be effective. We can't hold on to our youth. It's impossible. The body ages with time, and yet so many times we're clambering around trying to hold on to things that simply aren't permanent. And so the point I'm making when we talk about the Dharma and we talk about developing ourselves and our hearts is looking at our life in perspective. What are the important things in our life? What things can we change now? What things are worth changing? For example, what are we going to take over with us into our next life? If you don't believe in an afterlife, what are you going to achieve in this life that you can be proud of when you're ready to pass? From a Buddhist philosophy, we believe in an afterlife, we believe in karma. So all of our behaviours, thoughts and actions in this life determines how we are reborn. But if you don't believe in an afterlife, that still doesn't mean that you can't live a fulfilled life. So really it's about looking inward at ourselves to see who we are and what we need to do to fulfill our life, what will enrich us as people. And so this really is just a small taster of some of the Dharma and some of the things we'll be talking about in future videos. and I just really wanted to do this talk just as an introductory, just to give you an idea of what the Dharma is about. You can find out more about any of the topics that we're going to be discussing if you go to my website, which is www.juliekelly.co.uk, or alternatively you can drop me an email at kelly_julie1@sky.com. When you go to the website, you'll arrive at Green Tara Buddhist Therapeutic Healthcare Services, and it'll tell you more about my work and some of the services that are on offer. So until then, and until we speak again and hopefully meet to work together, I'll say goodbye and thank you for joining me in this video. Bye now.